Of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Today with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, your host of the evening, Mr. Brian Tally.
Welcome back to the Today with Tally podcast, where we add real life value to the lives of everyday people. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Twitter, Facebook, and About Face Radio. Simply search Today with Tally and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to get every episode and stay up to date with the latest and greatest our guests in this show has to offer. Folks, today's show sponsor is Chase's Choice, based out of Canyon City, Colorado. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this company. Now, Chase's Choice is an industry leader in cannabis and hemp products and continues to heal those in need. Whether you are struggling from physical pain, anxiety, depression, or having trouble sleeping, there is a product for you that will improve the quality of your life. Ken, the founder of Chase's Choice, continues to engage in open conversation on the benefits of cannabis and hemp, CBD, CBG, CBN, THC, and all of the other cannabinoids found in the plant through extensive research and development. To learn more, visit Chase's Choice online today at chaseschoice.org. That's chaseschoice.org, or call Ken 719-371-0768. That's 719-371-0768. Now, CBD was Chase's Choice. What's yours? Folks, remember to always consult with your doctor before starting any alternative medicine products, and always check with your state and local municipalities on the laws regarding the use of CBD and hemp products. Folks, we have a very special guest joining us on today's program. And if you're from the veteran community, I can pretty much guarantee that you probably know his name. Because he's definitely out there. He's put himself out there. He's made himself vulnerable, and he's working every single day in the veteran community for the betterment of the veteran community by sharing his own story and his own trials and triumphs with life. And he's really just done everything that he can possible to turn a negative into a positive and live a life of fulfillment and live a life of gratitude and live a life of positivity. And with that, I'm honored to be joined by Shawn Laurie, a.k.a. the Veteran Guy. How are you, sir?
What's up, Brian? Nice to be here, bud.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm honored to have you. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good talk. Get into a little bit about your service and, everything that you're doing in the veteran community to help those in need.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about your service, where and where you're from.
Okay. Well, we'll start where I'm from. Kind of everywhere. My dad was also military. He did 22 years in the military, so we traveled all over the entire country. But I was born in Indiana. My dad ended up retiring out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and that's where I went to high school at for my 9th grade year. And then when he finally retired, we moved down to South Carolina because that's where my grandmother's from. And so we moved down here to South Carolina. Without getting into too much, man, I was pretty crazy growing up, got in trouble all the time, really didn't have much of a future. Just pretty much balls to the wall, crazy kid, always in trouble. Prime example of military brat. And that's just the way it was. 2004. Well, actually, let's just say Iraq started, right? The Iraq War, 9/11 happened, 2003, 2001, and then that was going on for a while. And then 2004, I decided to join. I was going to join active duty military, like RA, regular Army. But me being already married and being divorced and having kids at home, I was thinking, you know what? I want to serve my country, but I don't want to be stationed somewhere away from my children. So if I can serve the National Guard, do my service and be home. So that's what I did. I joined the National Guard in 2004. It was all good, man. Went to Afghanistan 06, spent time in Afghanistan 06, 07, came home. It was pretty good. Struggled a little bit. It is what it is. And then deployed again 2010. And that's where I actually got injured. And got sent to Fort Gordon, had to have ACL, meniscus surgery, all of that good stuff. And then that's ended up being medically retired out in 2012. So, and long story short, that's my military career. Got, I was in almost 9 years. I wanted to be a lifer, didn't work out that way, and ended up medically retiring 2012 from an injury.
Now, during the cause of your injury, did that lead you to prescription drugs, or like what type of pain was affiliated with your injury?
So when I was growing up, man, the biggest things I've ever done was I smoked weed, I drank alcohol, but I was never into the pill scene. That wasn't my thing. I never really messed with that kind of stuff. And so when they prescribed me Percocets, because my leg was swole up like that and I was in a lot of pain, you know how it is. The medics there were like, here, take these, it helped with the pain. This was in Afghanistan. So I started taking Percocets in Afghanistan, went to Qatar, had an MRI done. That's when they found out that that I had a complete tear of the ACL, had a complete tear of the meniscus, and I had to have ACL reconstructive surgery and all this other stuff. So from leaving Qatar to back to Afghanistan, to the United States, back to the States, to Fort Gordon, Georgia, doctors were prescribing me medication. And actually at that time I was taking later on down the road, I was ended up taking 16 different pills. But yeah, it started with prescription medicine, man. I started taking those. Months went by, had my surgery, doing physical therapy, trying to get back on track, but the medicine already snatched me. And I was already depressed, man. I was depressed from sitting at this base and depressed and trying to get back to my unit and trying to get back to work, and started seeing doctors and talking to doctors and getting in my head. And I started telling them things that I felt like we could be open with these doctors and tell them things that we're going through, but it didn't turn out that way. They were more like saying, oh, well, you got PTSD and you got depression and you have anxiety and you have this and this and this and this. And ended up getting medication for every symptom I had a medication for. So the pain medicine was almost like, I enjoy taking them. I just love the way they made me feel. It seemed like it was kind of like, it was safe. It made me happy. All right. I call it a happy pill. And I didn't really know the consequences. I didn't really know about addiction. My mother was an alcoholic, but I never struggled with addiction. So I was just abusing them, man. I was abusing them all the time. And then about 6 months in, it got so bad that I started lying to the doctors, lying to people about my pain, just so I can get more medicine. And then that went on until I even got out of the military, which was in 2012. And then from 2012 to 2018, I was a drug addict. I was taking about 300 milligrams of fentanyl a day.
So
I had OD'd about 7 times.
Incredible. So you would say that on your second deployment in Afghanistan, when you hurt your knee, is when you started to experiment with the Percocets, and then it would compound like interest from there. Now, would you say that you really didn't have the obsession with it prior to your injury, and as you started to get more heavily involved with the opioids, you began to grow this addictive personality?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't have any interest in that stuff, man. I was a soldier. You know what I mean? I was proud of my work. I was proud of who I was. I wanted to continue my service. I was already being told that once I got out, I was an E4. I was on my way to E5. I was getting my promotion. This was my second deployment. I was a team leader. I was a great soldier. And this was my, second time in Afghanistan. And I was already being told that we were going to go to Kosovo the following year. Like, I was ready to go, man. I never thought about this kind of stuff. I wasn't into that stuff. I wasn't doing drugs. But I guess the environment being on this base I don't know if anybody that's listening that's military, but when you're in a medical hold and you're active duty for 2 years and you're like in a medical hold, all you do is appointments all day long. And you have these sergeants that are it's just so miserable. You're active duty, but you're living in barracks and all you do is go to appointments all day. And I did that for 2 years, just back and forth to appointments, figuring out what was going to happen. Was I going to be med board? Was I going to, go back to my unit? So yeah, I think once I started popping those pills, man, it was kind of like a way to just kind of deal with everything that was going on and not really understanding the consequences to it. But being told that Fort Gordon got so bad because we were having thousands of soldiers coming from Afghanistan and Iraq, injured soldiers, people, hurt for whatever reason. It was getting flooded with narcotics. Like there were soldiers left and right that were ODing. There were soldiers that were taking their lives. There were soldiers that were getting arrested. There were soldiers that were selling drugs on base. Like it got so bad, you take a bunch of soldiers and get them out of combat and put them onto a post. This is what you're going to get, everybody looking for help. But yeah, man, I got really bad addicted to those drugs, and it pretty much ruined my life. Well, at the time it ruined my life, and I let it consume me.
I had a very bad injury as well, and I'm glad I never became hooked on the opioids and all the other pills that I was on. But unfortunately, I had to take a ton of it to get through the days, to get through most days. I'm talking 40 pills out of about, 10, 12, 15 different pill bottles. And, a lot of what you were going through, pain, anxiety, depression, nerve pain, bladder, kidney, I mean, you name it. And
terrible.
That destroyed me. You're living in a chair, you're self-isolating, you're thinking, my life as I know it is over. What have I become?
Exactly.
And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff, to me, it happened due to no fault of my own. And, obviously you get hurt. You didn't ask to be hurt. And
Right.
a lot of the times when you're in the military or you're a veteran, you're going to the VA, the first thing that they're going to want to do is just give you pills.
More medicine.
They want to, just treat the, the symptoms, right? And not the root cause of the problem.
That's right. That's right. And that's what it was for us, man. And just to go deeper into the story, when I was there, on top of taking the narcotics, like I said, they were giving me, I was not just hooked on pain medicine. I was hooked on benzos because I was taking just as much Xanax as I was on top of the opioids, because I would take the opioids that would kill the pain, right? But it was more just get me high. And it got to a level where my anxiety got so bad that I had to take Xanax to calm it down, to kind of balance me out, because I was taking lithium. I was taking depression meds. I was taking so much, dude. I was Ambien to sleep. Just so much, man. They were giving me so many medicines, and probably for about close to 2 years, I was taking literally 16 different types of medication just so I could cope with everything, and it was terrible, man. It was terrible. And I want to tell you an example that I was taking so many drugs and I OD'd so many times, and there was a consequence. Like I was saying, I was trying to get to this before. So many soldiers on this base were living this way that it became where it was coming down from the chain saying, if any of these soldiers were caught abusing their medication, they could potentially be kicked out of the military. Like not even Article 15, like you're out. And I was so scared of getting caught, because if I got caught abusing my meds, right, and if I lose, at least I know I'm like, at this point, I'm realizing that I'm getting out of the military. I'm probably going to be 100% at the VA. Like I've learned these things, so I got some type of security. But if I lose my career in the military completely, if I'm kicked out, if I'm discharged, I lose it all. So this just shows you how scared I was. I was in the bathroom one day with my roommate, and I had OD'd, but he wanted to call the ambulance, and I begged him not to. And I sat right there at the toilet, man, and I was throwing up for like 2 hours. And he started feeding me bread and water and milk, just trying to keep me up. But dude, I was like so deadly sick, and I was like, please don't call nobody, because if we get caught, bro, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to get discharged and all this other stuff. So the point is, I think that they went about that the wrong way. If they knew that you had soldiers that are suffering, then they should have not put it out there where, I was willing to die so they didn't know. I would have rather known that the soldier was suffering. We can get him help. I don't know. That's me, but that's how bad it was, man. I was ODing left and right. I was taking so many drugs, dude, and fentanyl was getting in the thing, and started going from that to oxycodone to little Roxy's, taking easy 300 milligrams a day. And then I started going from popping them to crushing them to smoking it to eating fentanyl patches. It was so bad, dude. I abused it so bad. I don't even know how I'm still walking today. God, that's all I can say. God knew where I was going to be at today, and I didn't, but I turned that mess into my message.
Wow. No, that's
And definitely not proud of it, man. I was ashamed of it for a long time, ashamed of myself for a long time. But as you'll probably later on in the podcast, you'll see, man, I took all of that and I turned it around.
right. And you know, it's almost like everything that you just explained right now. It's like almost as if the Army and the Army medical centers were encouraging the pills, you know, and then they create a junkie, right? And then they say,
Yeah,
well, bye, we don't need you anymore. And then
pretty
they
much,
throw you to the wolves.
pretty much. You
Yeah.
know, oh, this
And
guy's broken. He's no longer valuable to us. He can't serve his country anymore. You know, and one thing I'll tell you, man, is I will never put the blame on the hospital. I don't put the blame on the doctors. You know what? They did their job. I went in there crying. I went in there whining about my pain. They tried to fix me with medicine. So I take responsibility for that. But I think that they could have, they knew. They knew. There's no way they didn't know, bro. I was passing out in formation, literally falling over in formation. Like,
mhm.
if you're any kind of sergeant, any kind of platoon leader, you know your soldiers messed up.
Yeah,
You know,
sure. You know how to read people, and once your behavior and then your attitude toward life starts to
yeah,
change, you know, there
yeah.
needs to be protocols in place to protect those soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors, whatever it may be. And you know, unfortunately, we know that there's a problem with military suicide and with veteran
Mhm.
suicide, and we know all this, but still, we're it's getting better, but we're still so far away from where we need to be, because you know that 22 is turned into, I've
It's
seen
more like 37, I believe.
stories that it could be double or a little bit, less of that. Now, when you were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, you know, your severe depression and anxiety, yeah, you became highly addicted and it destroyed you. And this would go on for about 10 years. Now, can you describe what those 10 years were like and what type of life that you actually lived?
The best way I could describe it is taking somebody living the life, a military life, 5 years on active duty out of 9 years, close to 9 years, so 8.5 years. 5 of that was on active duty, to basically going to a soldier, to, like you just described a minute ago, almost a junkie. But this junkie had a family, right? I had a wife, I had children, I had that security of a home, I had my security of a paycheck coming in. So I had those things. But the way it looked was I was basically waking up in the morning chasing a high. I would go see the dope man, I would go get the pills. Because at this point, I didn't mention this, but at this point, the so a month after coming home, after I being medically retired, I go to the VA. I make my first visit to the VA. The doctor sees that I've been on opioids for 2 years. She's like, "Why are you still on this medication?" Obviously, I make up this story that, because I'm still hurting, my leg hurts, I'm in pain, I need them, right? She goes, "Well, aren't you taking uh, these benzos as well? You're taking Xanax also." And I go, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Well, you can't take both of those together. It's going to kill you." And I'm like, "Well, I've been doing it for 2 years. Like, who cares, right? Like, I'm fine." So anyways, going into an argument, she decides to cut me off the medication. So she cut me off right then and there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of okay. I mean, I get what she was doing, but that is the reason why I went to the streets. So from that moment on, I started buying from the streets, and then I started living that street lifestyle. I started going to the dope man, started connecting with different people, basically going from a father, a husband, a soldier, to now somebody that literally lives his life every day searching for drugs, and then buying drugs to sell drugs to make money. So I'm living my life as a criminal. There's times I don't have money, so I'm going to do what I have to do to get that money. So for almost 10 years, I'm basically living my life as a drug addict. 2016, I decided to, my wife kind of forces me to go to rehab. I go to rehab for 30 days. I get out. That lasts about 2 weeks, and I get back on it again, and I think I can control it. And so there was a few times that I tried to get help, and it just didn't work. And yeah. So that's what it was like, man. Basically running around every day, chasing a high, And let me just say this for those that are listening that don't understand addiction and don't understand what it's like to be on medication, opioid addiction. It wasn't so much that I was chasing to get high. I was trying to be normal. I was becoming dope sick. So if I didn't have the medication at this point, I was going into detox.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would last for days sometimes. I would be definitely sick. I'd be throwing up. I feel like I got hit by a truck. I'd have my anxiety would be through the roof. Like it was so bad. And I'd be definitely sick for 3 days in the bed, couldn't even get out. So anybody will tell you in this stage of addiction, you're really not looking for the high anymore. You're just looking to be normal, is what the word is, normal. You're trying to feel sick. So that was my life, man, for damn near close 10 years.
It's so crazy. And I'm going to piggyback off you a little bit here.
That's fine.
And I cannot believe what you just said, because it's exactly what happened to me. I didn't go to the dope man. I didn't go to the streets, but one thing happened, and let me tell you what happened when I was on opioids and I was on the benzos too for years.
Okay.
And like I said, I was on tons of pills. One day, my wife gets a box in the mail, and she opens it up, and it's full of Narcan.
Mm.
She says, "What's this?" So she Googles it. Overdose. Spray this in your nose. This mist. So she brings it up to me. She's like, I just got a letter from the VA that says that they just found out that you have been taking these benzos with these opioids that can cause cardiac arrest.
Yep.
And if you overdose, you need to shoot this mist up your nose, this Narcan.
Right.
And this was all news to me. So at that time, she gave me a coming to Jesus meeting and said, you need to choose one or the other, the pain or the anxiety. But
same with me, except for I did it with the doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem was I was suffering from horrifying pain. I mean, I was eaten alive by a bone-eating staph infection that left me with permanent injuries and permanent damage, and also suffer from severe anxiety.
Right, you were suffering from both, like legitimately suffering from both.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, what do you do? And again, that puts you deeper into the chair. That puts you deeper into that depression. That puts you deeper into an area, in your anxiety-riddled body to say, how am I going to get through this? And, it's real. That is real. You need to start having these conversations with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and say, what is going on, and how did I get how did I get here? How did this all happen? And then you start to figure it out, and you say, man, I can't do this anymore, because you have got to get to that point to where you have got to hit rock bottom in order to fix yourself, because no one's going to come save you. And until I realized that no one was going to come save me, I had to save myself. And that wasn't an easy thing to do. And I still save myself. I'm not perfect. I still strive to get 1% better each and every day, as you probably are doing the same thing, but I want to get into the success story of Shawn, because that's where a lot of value can be added to our listeners today. It could go to show that you lived this horrifying life of 10 years that led you to the mean streets, to the dope man, to taking illegal and illicit drugs and alcohol, and living a life of fear and anxiety and depression and everything else that is culminated within addiction. So you began to reinvent yourself. You began to recreate yourself, and you began to reimagine who Shawn can be. And then one day, the veteran guy was born. Tell me about the veteran guy and who you've become, Shawn.
So, had a Jesus moment, I guess, like you said. Well, I just want to back up a little bit so listeners understand what kind of even led me to thinking about even becoming better, and why I even do what I do, and it all makes sense in a little bit. But in the heart of my addiction in 2016, I find out my best friend that I served with in Fort Gordon, he done served 5 deployments. The guy was from Puerto Rico. He was an amazing friend of mine. He suffered with addiction. He was with alcohol, and he was an alcoholic, and he suffered, but he ended up taking his life in 2016. So I found that out, and that was, I don't know, dude. Even today, I talk about it, and I don't even know the type of reaction I had to it. It was almost like I was just numb. I didn't even understand what happened. You know, I just knew my friend took his life, and I just, it was bad, and it affected me more than I thought. So I think I just continued to do what I was doing, man, and I actually got worse. I think that I was headed towards that same destruction, and I was just, I mean, because there was multiple times that I was just, finally looking at my life, like what you were doing. You were finally, questioning yourself. What am I doing? How did I get here? But see, I wasn't that strong. I was looking at myself, and I was feeling weak, and I was like, I'm never going to change. Like this is the new me. This is who I'm going to be. And, after many years of heartache and crying and pain from the family and my kids, and just watching all the stuff that I've done, I was just almost like, I'd be better off like my brother, just ending it, right? Just unaliving myself and being done with it. So there was multiple times I felt that way. But I kept going, man. I kept driving on. So it was like around the end of 2017, going towards 2018. I was out of dope. I was out of medicine. I was out of pills. It was just one of those days, right? I had no money. I had no nothing. I was just broke. I was no medicine, sick, dope sick, probably day 2. And this guy calls me up just out of the blue. I knew him, but I didn't know him. I knew he was a drug dealer. He calls me up. He's like, hey, man, I got something for you. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, if you want some. And we start talking. He's talking about his meth. And I'm like, bro, I have never done that. I said, I don't do that stuff. Like, I'm an opiate addict. I need opiates, right? He was like, oh, it'll make you feel better. I know you're dope sick right now, but it'll make you feel better. So I was just so sick, man, that I went over to his house and I snorted 1 line of meth, and hoping it was going to make me feel better. I was willing to do whatever it took, and it didn't. It put me into a very crazy depression. Like it didn't give me this, oh, I was like hyped up. It went, dude, I was never so depressed in my life. And it was so scary that I was literally thinking about suicide. I went and grabbed everything to take for it. I found the tree. I found the place I was going to do it. I was so convinced that I was going to take my life that day. I was done. I was just absolutely done. And my phone kept blowing up by this one veteran that I knew. He was 82nd Airborne, brother of mine. He kept calling me. I think I made a post on Facebook, something like, I wasn't telling people. I was just kind of made a dark post. And I think it concerned him, and he called me. I think it was like 6-7 times he called me, bro. And I just wouldn't answer because I didn't want to talk to nobody. I knew that if I was going to carry this plan out, that I had to do it without being distracted. I don't know why. I finally answered, and I was like, what's up, man? What's up? Bro, where have you been? What's going on? Then the conversation started, right? So now I got this brother I'm talking to. I start telling him, I start sobbing, I start whining, I start complaining, I start being this victim. And I've never had nobody talk to me the way he did. And he came at me in a way that I've never had anybody talk to me. And he basically, what you call tough love. He basically told me, get your head out your ass, get your life together. He's like, if you want better, be better. He's like, you're destroying yourself. And he was saying things that I've never heard nobody say before. And it just started registering. I'm like, you're right. Like, I'm doing this. Like, I don't have to be this person. I choose to be this person. And so obviously changing my mind to take my life, I'm motivated. We had this long couple hour conversation, still feeling kind of sick. I go to my house, I go lay down, I go to bed that night, and I pray to God. And I hadn't prayed in years, but I prayed to God that night, and I said, God, please help me. Please help me take away this addiction. Please help me get help. I promise you, I want to be like, at this point, I'm wanting to get clean, right? I want it. And I get up the next morning, I'm feeling sick, but I still have that same drive. So I go to my wife and I tell her, and she's heard this before, right? Like, she's heard all this stuff before. And I go to her and I say, I'm ready. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm ready. I thought I'd been hiding it from her for the last, because I've been lying and stuff. She's like, Shawn, I know what you've been doing. She's like, I'm not stupid. I see the money. I see all of that's happening. I'm like, well, I'm ready to get clean and I really want it. She's like, you want it? I said, I want it. And I don't want to do it for you. And I'm not doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for me. I said, I want it. So I voluntarily put myself into a 10-day detox center. I did 10 days detox. And as soon as I got out of detox, I went ahead and joined a outpatient treatment center for 7 months. And we did an intensive outpatient treatment. And every day, 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, meetings, just group therapy, meetings. And I was kind of off social media. I was doing some stuff, but not a lot of stuff. And then one day after about 7 months, I was sitting on my front porch and I decided to go live on Facebook for the first time. I think it was like 2018. And I picked up the phone and I went, oh, by the way, let everybody know I've been clean and sober now for 7 months. If I can do it, you can do it. And the reaction was insane. I had hundreds of people messaging me, people blowing me up on my phone. And ever since then, brother, 4.5 years clean and sober. And I can't even begin to tell you the journey that I've done. But this is how, from addiction to that, it was all willpower. It was all, it took some tough love. Somebody, basically reminded me that I had a choice, and me taking that choice and saying, you know what? I know I've been diagnosed with PTSD, but that doesn't define me. Just like my shirt, I made this quote 2 years ago. Your diagnosis does not define you. Your past doesn't define you. The things that I've been through doesn't define me. If I want change, I can be the change. And that's exactly what I did. I decided to take control of my life and quit being the victim and quit whining and just do what I had to do. These are the cards that I was dealt. Now, what am I going to do with it? And started using social media to tell my story. I turned my mess into my message. My brother took his life in 2016, started doing research, found out that we were losing 22 veterans plus a day to suicide. I'm like, holy shit, that's an epidemic. So I decided to create this group on Facebook called Vet Life for Life. I wanted to create something where people could go and just kind of have like a safe place for veterans, I guess, a place where we can talk without being judged, without being, us men, tough guys, right? We can't have emotions. We can't talk about our feelings without being, in this stigma. And so I just wanted a place for people that wasn't okay to know it was okay not to be okay. And I created a group. And it was crazy. A lot of people started joining. It was good, creating families. And then I had the thought, man, let's turn into a nonprofit one day. But besides all that, like, I can't even go. I mean, we can go into it, but bro, from the moment I got clean in 2018, I started traveling to Washington, D.C. I stood in Washington, D.C. at a freaking rally, standing in front of 700 people speaking. Then I was invited to Ohio, stood in front of 500-600 people. North Carolina, Florida, Texas, started traveling all over the country telling my story. I wrote a book, right? Veteran Mindset 2.0 on how to upgrade your mindset, because I personally believe that our mindset controls every aspect of our life. I truly believe that if you have the right mindset, it controls everything, mind, body, soul. As long as you have the right mindset, you can change your life. So I wrote a book based on my experience on the things that I've been through and how I changed my life. Thousands of reviews, thousands of people bought my book. I'm on a second book now. I'm building a recovery program. We have everything, bro. That's just what happened. And it just one thing after another. I got inspired. I found my purpose. I think that's what it is. I finally found my purpose. And I think that's, I don't drink. I don't mess with drugs. I drink coffee and I vape. Those are my vices now, but that's the story, man. And then people started calling me the veteran guy, right? Like they're that veteran guy, right? And so it just became into a brand. So we just created Shawn the Veteran Guy and the group Vet Life for Life. And by the way, I don't just help veterans. I help anybody that needs help. My mission is based on veterans, but anybody that struggles with PTSD or depression or anxiety or addiction, I'm here for you. I can help you. I'll talk to you. We do coaching. I do all kinds of stuff, man. That's the basic story, bro.
That's amazing. You touched on a lot of things. The self-isolation, man. I know that's real. I lived in a room and for years. I didn't even come out of my room. I just sank.
We're a lot alike, man. We're a lot alike.
We are, yeah. I just sank further and further, down into my chair. And the sad thing about it is I had a wonderful family, 4 beautiful kids, a wife of well over 20 years. But, when I got injured due to no fault of my own, I started losing things. I started losing my business, my company, who I was as a person. I lost, Brian Talley in 2016. And when you have your livelihood stripped away from you and the fear that comes in and the anxiety that creates the depression that makes the physical pain worse, everything compounds like interest, and it literally will make you sick, emotionally, mentally, physically. And one day I had enough, it was like, I think it was 2019. I said, I can't do this anymore. I've been doing this all of 16, all of 17, all of 18, and all of 19. Yes, living a life of severe physical pain and mental and emotional pain. But I went to Mighty Oaks. I put it all into God's hands, and I said, Lord, help me, guide me, because I want to be who I once was. But that guy died because, I wasn't a contractor anymore. I wasn't the coach anymore of baseball and football and all that stuff. I had a lot of physical injuries. And so
I bet everybody noticed that too. I bet you there was a lot of your family and friends would say, man, Brian's just not the same as he used to be.
Right. So, yeah. And like what I was saying, I had to do exactly what you did. I had to reinvent. I had to recreate. I had to reimagine what the new Brian would look like. Right. And again, you nailed it. I created a group. You said, why? Because I want to have a platform where a bunch of alpha-centric men can go talk about these issues without being called a less of a man. Because they have the courage to stand up and say, look, I need help. I have a problem. I want to go hang out with like-minded individuals and see what worked for them. And just doing that and taking that first step is always the most important step, because you got to realize you got a problem. And then you have to have the courage to stand up and fight for what's right. And when you have a family, and when you have kids, and when you have a wife, and you start putting all those things together, you got to look and say, hey, look, my children are watching me. Yep. This is the example I'm laying out for them right now. Yeah, Dad got hurt, but it shouldn't, be who he is forever. I mean, it shouldn't define who he is. And so I said, they're watching. I'm going to put a clinic on, and I'm going to get 1% better each and every day. And I prayed on it, and I promised myself that. And I've done just that up until this day. The days aren't easy. They're not all easy. But I can tell you right now, I'm happy. And living with physical pain and mental pain, emotional pain is a lot easier to deal with when you're in a happy state. When you're sad and stressed, the pain is worse, so I can, I have so much relation to you. Yeah. 2 different stories, 2 different dynamics, but a lot of the same,
symptoms, man.
Right. And a lot of the same symptoms, if you will, and a lot of the same destinations, because you and I have both decided to get better, to want more, to live a life that we were intended to live with that higher purpose and that new passion and that plan that I like to always talk about, the 3 Ps. And again, a lot of that is the roadmap to success. Now, what was your family going through when you were going through your most weakest and vulnerable time in need?
I think for the most part, my oldest son, who was 16 at the time, I find out today that he kind of knew what was going on. I was very good. Now, one thing about me is I was very good at hiding what I was doing. I was very determined not to let my family and my kids to, like, I was ashamed. I really was. I was ashamed of the life I was living. So my wife was depressed. My wife was angry all the time. She saw what was happening, because you got to think, man, no, I mean, living that lifestyle comes with so much more than just drugs and alcohol, right? It comes with, you know, it just comes with a lot of, if you think about the street life, even though it was weird, I had both worlds, man. I had a home and a family to go to, but I also had those streets. I had the drug dealers. I had the girls in the streets. I had the, the whole lifestyle that came with that, and I was kind of into that because I don't know, man. I didn't know my worth anymore. I didn't know what I was valued anymore. I didn't know I had value anymore. It was like, oh, well, you're a veteran, man. You're worth something. I'm a fucking junkie. Excuse my language. I'm a junkie. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I am, and I'll always be this. And that was my whole mentality. But I think she was going through a lot of struggles, man. She was frustrating. It's so shameful to say some days, man, when she didn't even have enough money to buy groceries. You know what I mean? Because I'm spending everything we have. It's very sad to even talk about those moments, but she's still here, and she's been through me. We've been together now 17 years. We've been married 17 years, and she's been with me for all my deployments. She's been with me through the military career. She's been with me through the addiction. She's been with me through the struggles. So, she's a good woman, and I don't think I could have survived without her, without me knowing she was there waiting on me, so I'm making up for it now, though. I'm giving her, things are a lot better now. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I was going to ask you, what is life like today after, being clean and sober now for, what'd you say, over 4 years?
4.5 years now.
Yeah. And so congratulations on that, but you've persevered and you've shown all these signs of resilience, and you've put this, public clinic on, this public display of you can get better and you can live the life that you were intended to live. And you wrote a book. Tell me a little bit about your book.
So it's called Veteran Mindset 2.0, and I don't have a copy on me to show you guys, but if you guys can go to Amazon, you guys can find that. Just type in Veteran Mindset 2.0. And basically it's just about mindset. I go into the 5 ways how I feel like upgrade you to the next level. And I get into like practicals, and I break down, like mindset, right? Having a positive mindset. We talk about self-worth. We talk about focus and recovery, and we talk about just so much stuff. And then I go into talking about how to do these things. So I don't just talk about how I did it. I don't talk about what you need to do. I talk about how you can do it. So I give you options. We talk about different ways to better yourself. How can you get a positive mindset, right? Listen to positive music, surround yourself with positive people. The more you think positive, you'll be more positive. You separate yourself from negative people, the negative energy and all that. It's not about your bad days. It's about how you react to the bad days, right? If you have a bad day and you're very negative towards those bad days, and you show your butt and you're angry and you're rah, 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 you're going to have more of those bad days. It's all about who we are. So I talk a lot about just upgrading your mindset, and that's what it's about. And I really enjoy it. At the end of the book, I give you actually like 60 questions where you can actually hold yourself accountable to see where you are in your life. And if you need to go back and reread, or if you need to go back and kind of, find ways to help you in certain areas. Do I need to help myself in self-worth? Do I need to help myself more in recovery? And when I talk about recovery in the book, it's more like not just addiction, but it's recovery from life, right? From mental health, from addiction, from childhood trauma. Women that read it that might have been through SA or DV and stuff like that. Like, recovery is just getting out of the situation and recovering from any situation that you've been in your life. And then I got the questions that kind of help you hold accountable. And then I give you like 20 something, like it's all in there, man. You go from each chapter to like 60 practicals that are basically breaking down the chapters. And then you go into questions. And then at the end of the book, I even give you like 22 affirmations that I live by, because I believe in affirmations. I believe in waking up every day, make your bed, and go into the bathroom and just being like, I am a great person. I am not the person I used to be. I love myself. I'm helping people. I'm amazing. If you love yourself, it's going to show, and other people will love you. And I can see that. We can see miserable people, right? And then when you're around a miserable person, you kind of want to stay away from those people because it's like a negative energy off of them. But if you come and you meet somebody that's positive, and I love myself and I'm energetic and I'm happy who I am, you want to get to know me and you want to be with me because I attract you. Positive energy attracts positive energy, and it goes on and on. But that's the book. Y'all want to check that out on Amazon.com. I've had it out now for about 2 years. Still doing amazing. Still, some days I look at it in the review, it's still under top 100 in military families. So it's a good book, and I'm very proud of it. It's something that I accomplished I never thought I could do. I never thought I would get to that point. But there's one thing about me is I do more than just talk about it. I'm about it. And I think we need to do more than raise awareness. We need to actually find solutions. And I think that book is a way for me to say, look, here's a solution. It may not cure you. It's not going to cure you. It's not going to, this is a tool. This is a tool. And you can use this to help you, like coping mechanism, different techniques on how you can help yourself with PTSD or depression or anxiety or addiction or whatever you're going through. And then you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. I'm just very proud of it. I'm working on another book. I'm not going to say the name of it right now because I just don't want to say the name of it, but it's getting ready to launch soon. And it's a book based on recovery, and is based almost like veteran mindset, but it's going to be more for everybody that struggles with addiction. If you've ever suffered with any kind of addiction, it's going to be for you. We're going to have an online course that I'm building that's coming with that. So,
man, I love all this stuff, man. It's like I guess God put me, on your path for a reason, because we do have a lot alike. And I think the reason why a lot of people identify with you, Shawn, is because our country is going through a mental health crisis right now. I mean, let's face it, from our kids to our soldiers to the everyday working parents. Life is hard, and we all have traumatic type experiences that happen in our life, but it's how we react to those situations that will ultimately define who we are down the road. People have obsessive behaviors. People have addictive personalities. Behavior stuff that we can control, but we can't because of the addiction is too much. A lot of the times, and having somebody like you that can identify with millions of Americans and say, guys, look, there is hope. And there is light at the end of a tunnel, and you can get better. And you can get better by looking and reading this inspiration and this encouragement and this motivation. And don't just do it. You got to be about it, right? Only you can save you. And that's like my biggest thing always that I say, is because you got to put in the work. It's not easy. Life is hard. It is not easy, but you got to know that you are not alone out there. But you also have to know that you must hit a certain point in your life to where you say, enough is enough. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot go on. I have to save myself. Nobody is coming to save me. I may have friends and family that can come help me and that can encourage me, but I can't. I'm the only one that can save me. Again, there's not a magic Superman that's going to come flying through the door, that's going to be like, hey, man, here I am. I'm going to come save you. So what you're doing is honorable. It's admirable. And I know you're changing lives, and you're creating a dialogue, and you're starting a conversation. And another thing, too, that you touched on that I always tell my kids, you are who you roll with. You are who you roll with. If you want to be successful, you got to hang out with successful, like-minded people. If you want to be a junkie, you're going to hang out with that negative crowd, and you're going to do the same things that they do, and you're going to share in the same behaviors. So if you want to be smart, successful, and be a community leader, well, hang out with those guys. If you want to be garbage, and if you want to be trash, and you don't want to have a life of contribution, well, then go hang out with the shitbirds down the street. But again, you are a product. You are a product of who you roll with.
Isn't it crazy that when we were kids, like we were told that if you ever had any actually decent parents, they would tell you, don't hang out with these people because they're going to get you in trouble, or they're going to lead you to the wrong road. And as we get adults, we forget that it's the same way as adults. If you want to be a successful podcaster, why wouldn't you hang out with other podcasters?
Right.
You want to be a politician, hang out with other politicians. If you want to be a doctor, hang out with doctors. If you want to be a motivational speaker, hang out with motivational speakers. Hang out and learn from those that are already doing it. If you want to run the streets, if you want to be a gangster, if you want to be all that kind of people, then hang out with those kind of people. You know, it's just it's common knowledge, but we just forget it and we don't understand it. I'm like, I can't change. I can't be better. This is who I am. And it's like, dude, as soon as I started getting clean and I started separating myself from those type of people, it was so much easier because those people weren't around me to influence me or, I was going to tell you, I'm sure you heard this before about motivation. Make sure I don't screw it up. It's not about the motivation. Like motivation is only temporary, right? Mm-hmm. It's the discipline that keeps you going. So we got the motivation to be better, but it takes discipline to keep it going.
Right. The motivation is the matchstick. So if you light the match, it's hot, it's burning, it's a flame, and you touch yourself and it makes you jump and you're motivated. You're ready to go. But you can't be motivated every single day of your life because at some point that motivation is going to wear off. And that's where the discipline needs to come in. I've been an intermittent faster now since 2019. When I got up out of my chair after all those years, I gained tons of weight and I was far more unhealthy than I've ever been in my entire life. Again, after suffering through traumatic, accident and medical malpractice that I neglected myself for years, so I had to start way down on the bottom and I had to work my way back up. And I was to a point to where I'm like, I'm too far gone. This is going to be too hard. I'm going to have to lose 100 pounds. I got to stop taking, my pain pills. Oh my God, I got to start walking. I got to start doing physical therapy. Oh my God, I got to get my life. Oh man, how am I going to do all this stuff? Well, guys, it's just 1% better because if you think about, you can't do it all in one day. Mm-hmm. Guys, this is years and years and years and years in the making here. It takes time. Everything takes so much time to get to your final destination. And I'm never going to be to my final destination because I work on getting better.
Growing every day. Yeah.
As I climb that mountain, I get to the top of that mountain, I'm looking at the next mountain. And that's how I roll. And with folks like you and I surrounding ourselves, we're having that equally yokedness, right? Iron sharpens iron. You're a podcast host. I reached out to you because you could add value to my listeners. And I'm sure that you can add value to, not my listeners, but to all these other listeners. And I'm sure I could add some value to your listeners. So, I'm all about bringing the veteran community together. I'm all about bringing just people together. How about Americans? How about humanity? Bringing people together to share like-minded vision, right? And to just make everybody just better people. And it's a win-win situation. It improves our country. It improves our local communities. It will improve our schools. It just improves everything. And I don't know about you, but I like living in a country that's free and prosperous, that's safe. I don't like crime riddled streets. I want people to go out and live the life that they were intended to live. And the only way to do that is to take your life back one day, 1% at a time.
I love it, man. Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't say no better. That's exactly right. That's how I feel, just like you do. You know, people just gotta want it. You know, I people ask me the major question I get is, how did you do it?
Yeah.
How did you do it? And I say, simple. I wanted it.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that doesn't really answer. Like, no, it does. If you want it, you'll do it.
The only way that you can do it is you have to hit rock bottom. And I hit rock bottom. I know you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Two different circumstances, same end result, right?
I was on the phone the other night with a guy, and he said he told me, he's like, I just hit rock bottom, bro. I don't know what to do, and I'm losing my mind, and blah, 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 and I'm ready to give up. I'm at rock bottom, and I started clapping.
Congratulations. Yeah.
He said, why are you clapping? I said, congratulations, bro. I said, you have finally hit rock bottom. He goes, well, how is that good? I said, think about it. There's only one way left to go, and that's up.
Yeah.
And he thought about it for a minute. He's like, well, I guess you're right. I'm like, no, I'm right. You're at rock bottom, bro. There's only one way to go now, and that's up. So congratulations. Now let's start building.
Yeah. You have got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And like I was going to say, I look back at it now, and when I hit rock bottom, that was the worst, best day of my life.
Best day. Yep.
Yeah, the worst, best day of my life. And again, I live a life of gratitude, as I know you do now. And you know, of course, we always put our family first, you know, in our faith. And guys, just know that, one, you're not alone out there. Two, everybody goes through stuff. Everybody goes through trauma. Everybody has the good days, the bad days. This is the life. And again, the walk in life, it's not easy. It is hard. But again, it's worth it in the end, guys. It is all worth it. And as soon as you understand that life is so much better when you're happy and you're living with purpose, and you know why you're alive. And you're so, like me, when I wake up now in the morning, I'm like pumped. I'm like,
you're motivated. You're motivated to breathe. You're motivated to live because you know you're living your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And until you can get in those shoes, life is, it can't be better, right? It's great. Yeah, of course, we all still have our pains. But again, living life with pain is so much easier to manage when you're happy. And finding that happiness is what we strive to do every single day. And when you're happy and you're feeling good, you want to tell people about it. You want to share it because somebody needs it, and someone needs that hand up, and someone needs that encouragement, because you never know who you may be getting into the hearts and minds of. And maybe today someone's going to be like, I needed to hear that. And because of that, tomorrow I'm going to go on a walk, or I'm going to decide to eat better today. Or you know what? I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call my mom.
I'm going to wake up and just start making my bed, you know, just simple.
It's the little
steps. How do you get started? Just start by little steps, making your bed every day, doing affirmations, you know, learning to love yourself.
Yeah.
Learn,
you know, like what a thing I always say, and we got a minute left here, but the things I like to say is this: how do you improve your life? Well, I can tell you exactly how you improve your life. Consider a room, a 1,000 square foot room, and you need to tile that room, but you only get one tile a day. So it's literally going to take you 1,000 days to do this room. Well, that's over 3 years, but if you only have one tile a day, you're going to lay those tiles perfectly, and they will be exactly aligned, and it will be impeccable. And when you get done with that 1,000 days, you're going to look back on that room and say, that is how I changed my life. One tile a day, guys. And that's like chopping wood, that's swimming, that's just staying afloat. But man, Shawn, you're a great guy, the veteran guy. I just want to thank you so much for joining the program today. And I sincerely appreciate everything that you do in the military and the veteran community.
Respect, man. Same to you. And maybe I'll bring you on my podcast sometime. We'll, really get into your story and, talk about how you became the person you are today. So
Yeah, I'd be honored. Yeah, that's great.
Let's definitely continue with our relationship, and looking forward to talking to you again.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely I'm going to nurture this one again. You got to surround yourself with people that have like-minded vision